A little different this morning, huh? Thank you for joining me today. Several things on my mind as we enter into this week. Last week, we had a couple of incidents involving violent, gun-involved incidents involving young people. 14 years old in both incidents, and what appears right now to be separate incidents. Not a lot out there yet. The police are still investigating it. And there's not much I could say other than parents, please know where your children are. Parents, please know who your children are with. And parents, please know the activities that your young people are engaging in. I'm sure Chief Mentor would not mind me saying that. You know, young people should not be shot. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And these incidents are increasingly occurring in places that the police are not: private residences, private cars, private spaces. So we have to continue to ask and solicit the help of our community and being able to help us to protect our young people. And again, if everybody just keeps their eyes on their own, I think we could do better than what we are doing. So Chief will be available to answer any questions, but I will tell you in advance that the information, particularly because it involves juveniles, is still very, very fluid and not a lot of information. But I definitely wanted to put that out there as something that is at the forefront of my mind this morning. Last week, I was honored to welcome Southwest Airlines to Savannah Hilton Head International Airport. You can now fly direct from Savannah via Southwest to Baltimore, Washington, Dallas Love Field, Houston Hobby, Chicago Midway, and Nashville. So that's big news for our community. Looking forward to the day we could fly direct to Atlanta. I appreciate the hard work of Savannah Airport Commission, the chairman, Stephen Green, Executive Director Greg Kelly, and everyone who has worked so diligently over the last almost 20 years to make this happen. And so again, we welcome Southwest to Savannah. This morning, we're anxiously watching developments in Atlanta as the Savannah-Chatham County delegation is expected to deliberate and hopefully support local legislation of the Savannah City Council's resolution to increase the hotel-motel taxes from 6% to 8%. This hotel-motel tax increase will bring Savannah in line with other hub cities in the state, including Atlanta, Augusta, Macon, and Columbus. Also, over 80 cities in the state of Georgia, to include cities like Vidalia, are also in this higher category. This 2% would generate an approximately $7.5 million in hotel-motel taxes. Per this agreement, the funds generated would go to the city's general fund, to Visit Savannah for promoting tourism, conventions and trade shows, and to the Savannah Convention Center to be used for marketing and operating and convention facilities. Tomorrow we will be breaking ground on the new convention center with our governor expected to be in attendance. That being said, capital is one thing, operating is something different. And so these funds would help with the operating of this center and not on the backs of taxpayers. The additional funds, which must be used for capital improvements related to tourism or the development of tourism-related products, is projected to go towards the redevelopment of our waterfront, the expansion of the Tide to Town urban trail network, renovation of the historic Waterworks building near the new Savannah Arena, trails, sidewalks, and other connections between the historic district, West Side neighborhoods, and the new arena, possible museum development, and a new water access facility on Savannah's south side, wayfinding signage throughout the city, and West Bay Street gateway enhancements. The best part about this arrangement, and what I like most about it, is that the funds will not be generated by or paid for by Savannah taxpayers. We have asked and we've looked high and low for years for additional opportunities to create new revenue streams that do not come from or on the backs of Savannah taxpayers. These are paid for by the visitors to our community and will represent very tangible, very concrete contributions to Savannah's soon-to-be again very prosperous tourism community. And these are improvements that can be seen and will be felt in neighborhoods across our city. Additionally, this agreement directly represents some of the stated desires of members of council, myself, and the general public by requiring the development and implementation of a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan to attract minority visitors, promote local minority-owned businesses to those visitors, and highlight cultural heritage sites and attractions significant to minority communities. It's time. It's time. And this arrangement will help us to be able to get there. This work will be carried out by a designated full-time staff member of Visit Savannah to implement and oversee the diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. This person will also present the plan along with a year-end business plan to City Council on an annual basis. The City Council has agreed to delay the collection of the hotel-motel tax until January 1st, 2020 to allow more time for the effects of the pandemic to pass. This is the culmination point of very intricate, sometimes contentious, communicative and cooperative processes between many partners. And I'm just pleased that we have been able to finally get to this point. For those of you who've been around, you know we've been talking about this for years. And for some reason or another, one partner didn't want to go forward, or another partner didn't want to go forward, or the timing was not right. And so at the beginning of this administration, we tried again, and fortunately at this point, it appears that it's in our favor. The City Council voted 6-3 to approve the resolution, which would authorize us to move to another category, and the Council voted 7-1 to approve the agreement. So I hope that Chairman Ron Stevens, Senator Lester Jackson, Senator Ben Watson, Representative Carl Gilliard, Representative Bill Hitchens, Representative Derek Mallow, and Representative Jesse Petrie will support the stated will of the Savannah City Council, our local hoteliers, and our tourism community. Stay tuned. We're watching. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, and while this year will not have our typical large celebrations, we are still observing our local Savannah traditions. I was honored last week to participate in the socially distant and virtual greening of the fountain on Friday, and you can watch the replay on the Parade Committee's website, Savannah St. Patrick's Day, all spelled out, SavannahStPatrick'sDay.com. Tomorrow, you can tune in live to watch the St. Patrick's Day Mass at the Cathedral. And I want to send big shouts out and thanks of appreciation to John Fogarty, the Executive Committee, and the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee for really stepping up and working with us this year. Again, it has been a marvelous experience, understanding very clearly, and they understand very clearly, as disappointed as we all are, we're all in this together. And so we worked with them very early on to honor the cultural traditions and religious traditions of the Feast of St. Patrick, and work with them to create a safe virtual experience that highlights the essential ceremonies and events that make St. Patrick's Day in Savannah world-renowned. And again, we've already started our countdown to the biggest parade and festival that the world has ever known in about a year from now. So the clock starts ticking. I appreciate all the locals and visitors who wore masks and avoided big crowds over the weekend. We know that this time of the year is essential for our local economy, especially our small businesses and hospitality and tourism industries. It's important to note that Savannah is wide open. We've been wide open. And the way we stay wide open is to require the use of masks. Savannah has had a mask mandate since July 1st of last year. It remains in place. And so this is what allows us, as opposed to many other cities across the country, to remain viable. Savannah police were out in force, and I was hanging out with them. And of course they were visiting establishments that were selling alcohol as per their usual operations. Out of 48 inspections, police issued 23 citations to 19 establishments that were in violation. Although we're in a pandemic, our alcohol ordinance needs to be followed, and that's for the safety of everyone involved. They, along with the city's COVID resource team, estimate that we've given out about 18,000 masks over the weekend. We know we're going to stay busy this week. It was very busy last week, and again, what I appreciated, and I spent considerable time out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is that if people did not have a mask on, you ask them to take a mask, they'd put a mask on. Southern hospitality and people complied. And we recognize that once they passed us, then, of course, sometimes they took them off, but then you had another set of city staff folks that were reminding them again to put on their mask. And again, people were overwhelmingly kind. They understood. They got it. So if you're out enjoying our city over the coming days, the 3 W's remain in effect. Wear a mask, even if it doesn't always stay up when you're talking. Wash your hands. Watch your distance. And if you're a business, we expect for you to protect your employees and your customers by requiring masks inside. We have reopened the Savannah Safe Pledge to allow businesses to commit to helping stop the spread of COVID-19 with cleaning and disinfecting protocols. Hundreds of businesses, I believe over 700, took the pledge last year, and we're asking them to continue prioritizing these standards. Go to savannahsafe.com to recommit to this pledge or to sign up if you missed out on the first time. Yesterday, members of our team visited Savannah's first drive-through mass vaccination center, and that opens tomorrow, March 17th, at the Gulfstream campus. Those eligible will be able to get a vaccine Tuesday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can schedule an appointment online at myvaccinegeorgia.com, myvaccinegeorgia.com. Even if you're not currently eligible to receive the vaccine, we are asking our residents, our citizens, our friends, to pre-register. Go ahead and get it done. Make sure you're already on the list so you can get a shot when it is your turn. If you need help, there is help available. Please call the Health Department resource line at 888-457-0186, 888-457-0186, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and weekends from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. SEMA, which is the Chatham Emergency Management Agency, and the Georgia Emergency Management Agency will provide information about how to access transportation in the coming days. And I'm excited to soon announce another great partnership that will allow us to also provide some mass vaccinations within the city of Savannah core. So we're looking forward to that. If you're looking for a COVID-19 vaccine appointment at a pharmacy or a local health department, visit dph.georgia.gov, dph.georgia.gov, and click on the COVID-19 vaccine. And you will see options to register for an appointment at several major pharmacies like Kroger, CVS, and Walmart, and find other local providers. Last Saturday, I announced the Construction Education Foundation of Georgia's Construction Ready program and its expansion to Savannah. And I'm excited about this. This is a free 20-day construction education class which will teach needed skills to begin a construction career, provide trainees with the required credentials, and offer job placement at the end of the program. There will also be on-the-job training opportunities for program graduates to acclimate to the construction industry. The first class begins when? March the 17th, May the 17th, I'm sorry, May the 17th. Everything is March 17th to me nowadays. It's May 17th. And you can register online at constructionready.org/new career. constructionready.org/new career. Since Construction Ready's launch in Metro Atlanta in 2014, more than 1,100 workers have been trained through the program, and the success has been outstanding. 97% of the participants have a job at the end of the training with an average starting salary of $12 to $15 per hour. And after 1 year, 70% of the participants are still with the same company. So not only are we hoping to replicate that success in Savannah, we're planning to exceed that success in Savannah. We're telling people, if you're serious about finding and starting a new career, this is bigger than just a job. If you're serious about starting a new career, this is your opportunity. And so this is the kind of programming that we need to get Savannahans learning, working, and earning. And so please share this opportunity with anyone that you know of that might benefit. After 2 years of growing in our urban tree nurseries, the city's Office of Sustainability and the Savannah Tree Foundation planted 37 native tree species on city FEMA lots last week. The trees will help beautify neighborhoods, boost our urban tree canopy, and mitigate flooding. And in honor of Savannah's commitment to effective urban forest management, the Arbor Day Foundation named the City of Savannah again a 2020 Tree City USA. So we're used to this. We do this well. We recognize the essential role that trees play in the environmental and personal well-being of our community. And I'm excited that Savannah has committed in doing its part to maintain these important resources. Many in our community have experienced financial hardship, significant financial hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected their ability to pay rent. A federally mandated eviction moratorium is set to expire at the end of this month. So we anticipate there will be landlord and tenant disputes that would need to be resolved. I'm excited to announce a partnership with the Mediation Center of the Coastal Empire, the Economic Opportunity Authority, the United Way of the Coastal Empire, and Georgia Legal Services to offer free mediations for private, non-subsidized landlord-tenant cases in Savannah and Chatham County. And understand what that means. To non-subsidized private landlord-tenant cases, free mediation. The Mediation Center and community partners they anticipate that landlord-tenant mediation can resolve many COVID-related disputes without initiating eviction proceedings, which is better for everyone. Better for our court system, better for the landlord, better for the tenant. However, as you know, in mediation, both the landlord and the tenant must agree to mediate. The free sessions will start next Monday and will last through April the 1st. Request the mediation at mediationsavannah.com/landlord-tenant. mediationsavannah.com/landlord-tenant. Limited spaces are available, and we're encouraging people to sign up early. We certainly want to thank the Mediation Center, the EOA, and the United Way, particularly also Georgia Legal Services, for working with the city and the county to help make this happen. If you need help paying your rent or utilities, the Chatham County Emergency Rental Assistance Program provides assistance to qualified folks. This fund helps tenants pay up to 3 months of past due balances for rent or utility bills obtained from March of 2020 until now. The loss of income must be directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic. To learn more about emergency assistance, please contact the United Way at 211 or uwce.org/CCERA. uwce.org/CCERA. And you can reach the EOA at 912-438-8077. 912-438-8077. Yesterday, President Biden made it clear to the American people that help is here, and hope is here in real, tangible ways. 100 million shots in people's arms and 100 million checks in people's pockets. Today, President Biden hits the road for the Help Is Here tour and will travel to Chester, Pennsylvania to visit a small business, while the Vice President and Second Gentleman will travel to Denver, Colorado to meet with small business owners. And Veterans Affairs Secretary McDonough will visit a veteran-owned small business in Washington, D.C. All will highlight how the American Rescue Plan invests in hard-hit small businesses so that they can rehire and retain workers while keeping them safe, including minority-owned businesses. As millions of Main Street small businesses, especially those that are black and brown, are struggling to make ends meet, the American Rescue Plan will allocate $15 billion in flexible grants to help the smallest, most severely impacted businesses persevere through the pandemic. Some are here in Savannah. Provide $28 billion for a new grant program to support hard-hit small restaurants and other food and drinking establishments. Many are here in Savannah. Bolster the Paycheck Protection Program with an additional $7.25 billion in funding to support small businesses and nonprofits that were previously excluded. Many of them are here in Savannah. Invest $10 billion in successful state, local, tribal small businesses financing programs to help small businesses create and maintain jobs and provide the essential goods and services that communities depend on. Again, many are here in Savannah. And I certainly want to thank Senators Warnock and Ossoff for their continued work with us during this. The Help Is Here tour will continue to communicate directly and clearly with Americans about how the American Rescue Plan is helping them and their families, and making sure that they understand how to utilize benefits available to them. The tour will make clear that help is here and that we're on the path forward towards crushing this virus and rebuilding our economy. As a part of the tour, the Biden-Harris administration officials will travel across the country, speak with the local press, participate in daily press briefings, mobilize our coalition of bipartisan mayors and governors, and directly engage communities in every area of the country. Later this week, this tour will showcase how the American Rescue Plan provides help for schools, to include a $130 billion plan to serve all students and help to achieve the President's goal of opening a majority of K-8 schools within his first 100 days in office. Further, to help keep a roof over their head, on Thursday, the administration will showcase how this American Rescue Plan will provide emergency aid to cover back rent, to help struggling homeowners catch up on their payments and utility costs, and provide additional funding for families and individuals, and help immediately with direct checks. And on Friday, President Biden and Vice President Harris will travel to Georgia, not Savannah, but Georgia, to underscore how the administration and the congressional Democrats are fulfilling their promise of delivering $1,400 checks and finishing the job on providing $2,000 in direct relief to millions of Americans. So the American Rescue Plan already has broad bipartisan support from the American people, and it's now our job to make sure that they know exactly how this historic plan will make their lives better, even here in Savannah, and how people here in Savannah can take advantage of the benefits of this package. So that concludes my prepared remarks, and we'll answer any questions. I know it was a lot today, but I had a lot of stuff on my mind, so thank you. I was about ready to die. Thank you. We'll start here.
Oh, okay. I guess everybody can hear me. Before I ask my question, can you please reiterate the statement regarding Visit Savannah and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan?
Sure. As a part of this plan, we recognize that, and as you know from the very beginning of this administration, we've talked about really starting to look at Savannah and view Savannah and how we deal from an inclusion lens, from a diversity lens, from an equity lens. This is a part of the ethos of around the table, and that you invite people to the table. We recognize that Savannah has a lot of things available to a lot of people, and I believe that Visit Savannah has done a pretty decent job in terms of marketing to minorities to come and visit Savannah. We believe, though, and they believe that they could do better. And so in this agreement, they would actually acquire a person or assign a full-time individual whose job is to not only to work with local partners to create a diversity and inclusion plan, but then be also to communicate that to council on an annual basis. I think, you know, it's one thing when you say you want to be diverse and you want to practice equity and inclusion. It's something different when you do it. So in this case, now there will be a person whose job all of the time is diversity, inclusion, and equity as it relates to tourism here in Savannah. I think, you know, for a long time, minorities, particularly those black and brown, have not really felt connected. And so this plan will help to connect. You know, again, we know that, you know, 1/3 of the folks that come here are probably minority. Again, this is a way for us to be able to really lock into that market. Again, Savannah has a lot of wonderful things for people. We have historic sites throughout our community, be it the Carver Village, historic Carver Village, be it the historic Brickyard community, be it the Pinpoint community. Again, these are opportunities for us to really develop those things, develop that tourism-related product, and to be able to highlight minority businesses, African-American businesses that are engaged in the tourism industry. So it is really ratcheting our efforts to a higher level.
Okay. So when you say that, I think of course, probably them putting together some comprehensive list so that people can know where the minority businesses and establishments are.
Right.
In one case.
Sure.
Would another case maybe involve any encouragement or aid in developing more minority businesses? Absolutely.
I mean, I think, again, you know, some of the areas here are almost like the undiscovered country. You know, there are opportunities for us once we're able to look and see what areas are we really doing well in, what areas can we do better. what areas have we not even scratched the surface in? And so having a plan helps us to determine where our gaps are. And so, let's look at being able to have business opportunities, entrepreneur opportunities to help create that. As you're aware, our Entrepreneurial Center works in helping businesses to develop business plans. So again, it creates opportunities for people to be a part of the entrepreneurial spirit. We believe there's enough money generated from tourism and hospitality for everybody. And the best part about it is that our tourism community recognizes that too. And so, again, this is us really an idea whose time has come, and an opportunity for us to be able to work together to help ensure that everybody benefits from the tourism boom that will soon come again to Savannah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Just 2 questions for you this morning. So over the weekend, I had a lot of family and friends sending me national, international, articles talking about Savannah St. Patrick's Day. I'm curious if you saw any of those, and if you think Savannah represented us well, if they irritated you, anything at all.
The question was, this is for our listening audience, that over the weekend people sent you things nationally and internationally. People look at Savannah. I saw some of them. Some irritated me because they would show pictures of Miami Beach and then fade to a picture of Savannah. And I'm like, that's not Savannah. I think that in the end, what people should recognize, that although we are different, we have worked very hard to keep Savannah open. And so, hence why it was so important for us really to push on these masks, because the masks help us to control our spread. Now, admittedly, we went into a couple of establishments over the weekend that, we could not mandate masks within. And it was, it was pretty crunk in there, and so I left. Did I say crunk? Synonyms, I'm sorry. I'm synonym. It was pretty lively in there. It was pretty amped in there. It was pretty, in my younger days, I would have enjoyed it. Being older and knowing better, I grabbed my chief and we got out of there. Because it was just a lot of people, and they were having a good time, and it was refreshing to see that. But on the other end of it is that I'm like, this is a super spreader. And so we're not trying to be killjoys. We're not trying to stop people from having a good time. But at the end of the day, when people have left here, Savannah has to survive. And so we decided here in Savannah with our Team Savannah, our tourism, our business community, we're playing the long game. If we're able to manage it appropriately, we stay open for the long haul. And that's what's really important for us. So our occupancy was over 90% last weekend. We're getting close to that this weekend. That's good news. We're just telling people, hey, respect our city. Respect our city, respect our hospitality employees, respect our residents, and, have fun, just wear a mask. Eat, drink, and be merry. Otherwise, wear a mask.
Perfect. Last question, shifting gears. Last week during City Council meeting, they voted again to delay the anticipated decision on the transitional shelter.
Yes.
City manager mentioned that there was a new proposal, I guess, that had been developed. Any progress or update on if we've been reviewing that proposal, if in 30 days we will get a vote?
The question is regarding the West Savannah's, the Salvation Army's special use permit at the site of was formerly known as Bartow Homes, which is owned by the Housing Authority of Savannah. The city manager last week requested a 30-day continuation of the hearing, particularly because we've been notified or heard, mostly from news reports, of an additional proposal that came from some local folks because we're not the owners of the property, the city manager wanted to ascertain, is this a serious proposal that's being reviewed by the Housing Authority? Secondly, if there is a conflict of interest, that will change his recommendation to council. And so the council agreed to allow him that additional time. Beyond that, I have no involvement in it. And so we'll let the city manager do his job. I expect by the second meeting in April, we need to vote on this. It's been out too long, and I'm just, let's vote it up or down and move on.
You said second weekend in April?
Yes, I think it was 30 days, so now we only meet every every second and fourth, so it should be the fourth Thursday in April. And remember, I will say this, when we took it up last year, we held the public hearing and we closed the public hearing. And the council voted unanimously to close the public hearing. So although we had citizens, I understood, that showed up to speak on it, I mean, the alderman involved knew that she had voted to close the public hearing. And so when we get together, it's just to vote. Again, and council is very clear about that. So, thank you.
Morning, Mr.
Good morning.
So I first just wanted some clarification. You had said 48 inspections took place, 23 violations were given out. Can you explain what exactly those violations were?
I do not know, Chief.
We'll get you that out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, I mean, I was out, but I wasn't doing inspections, so I don't know. But we'll find out and get that to you. But again, and it could have been more than a site receiving multiple violations. Again, we have the alcohol, our alcohol ordinance is partly local, partly state law, and we have a responsibility to enforce that. That's for the safety of people. Some of it might have been compliance checks. You have to have related paperwork and things on file. It might have regard in terms of who you served or how you served. Again, we want to help protect businesses, and the alcohol ordinance protects businesses. So just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean we threw caution to the wind. We still expect businesses to follow the rules.
And I feel like for the first time in a long time, we're starting to feel like the end may be in sight. A lot of people are feeling like things are going to go back to normal, especially with mass vaccination sites and things like that. And your press briefings have become less COVID related, and a lot of other things have been discussed weekly. So for you, do you see the end in sight, and what is that going to look like?
I've always saw the end in sight. I just didn't know how far away it was. I think we have to be very careful. I'm looking across the country, and I've seen cities and states throwing caution to the wind. All you have to do is look at our friends over in Italy that are now closing down again because of an additional surge. I think that we've had a game plan that's allowed Savannah to remain viable. We've had a game plan that's allowed Savannah to remain open, and we have to keep to that. I will be meeting soon with Team Savannah to talk about metrics again, and with our Coastal Health District to talk about conditions under which we start at least opening parks again for sports activities. But again, for us, it's going to be driven by science. It makes no sense to me to have gotten this far and has done as relatively well as Savannah has done to turn around and just say, well, the weather is better, and let's just go back out and turn up again. I mean, we're not going to do that. The goal really is for us to, again, remain measured. And although, some people have not liked that, again, for those of you that are connected across the country, and you look at cities across the country, and you hear what I hear from these mayors about how their cities are faring, how their main streets are dying, how businesses are closing down, and you look at Savannah last weekend, Savannah is a blessed city. And I want to keep it that way, and I want to make sure that we do the things that have helped us over the last 12 months.
And then one more unrelated question is, you've been doing these Motivational Monday Facebook and partnering with Richard Reeves of Consumer Credit, talking about home ownership, improving credit. What is the general importance of this, and why are you doing this?
Well, first of all, why are you watching? No, no. Well, because I think that for us, I think government has a role, but I think that some of it is personal responsibility, and sometimes people can't do better because they don't know better. And so, our first motivational march Motivational Monday was, I think, 5 weeks ago, and we talked about evictions, and there was something else we talked about on the very, very first one, and I forgot what it was. But the goal is that people sometimes just don't know. We talk about poverty reduction, but some poverty reduction is created by debt reduction and by improving credit. And that's not things that the city of Savannah can do for you. And so having Richard Reeve on from the Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Savannah, a local nonprofit, on a platform that I have of over almost 30 to 40,000 people, creates opportunities where people can learn about this information and can help to improve their lives. If they can improve their credit, if they can lessen their debt, perhaps their financial situation improves. Now they can buy a home. They buy a home, well then now, maybe they're lifted out of poverty. So I think the city does what we do, but I think I have a responsibility, and it's been my mission to help also push personal responsibility. So thank you for watching. It's been very interesting from people that are on, asking very good questions. And I told you, I'm all in. I go hard for Savannah, and that's in City Hall and my house. I want people to do better, and I want to do all I can do. So I'm gonna help from City Hall, and I'm gonna help from my living room to do what we can to help people to do better. That being said, this Friday we're celebrating 1 year anniversary of Friday Night Live. We've done this for 52 weeks. It started March the 20th, 2020, as a Friday night update about COVID-19, and every Friday night, to include Christmas and New Year's, we've gotten together, and we will average upwards of 300 to 500 people listening live at one time, and then we've had as many as over 2,000 people listening at one time. An opportunity again to get information out. We've had the superintendent on, we've had Dr. Davis on, we've had Dr. Carlos de Rio on, we've had people talking about motivation, we've had people singing. I mean, the goal of this was let us get through this together. And so on Friday night, if you don't have anything to do and it's in the middle of a pandemic, you need to be at home. And it is, when I tried to say, well, let's take a break this week, no, we can't take a break, we can't take a break. So for 52 weeks we've done it, and we're still here. And so, I'm excited that we've reached that plateau, but it's been a very, very valuable way for us to get information out. And again, we're not slamming anybody, we're not wasting valuable time, talking about that. We're trying to lift people up. We're trying to keep people's spirits. And what I've recognized from this, and people have called and told me, they're home by themselves. They don't have family. And this is their interactive experience. And it just means a lot for them to talk to me on Fridays. And I'm like, really? And it's like, yeah. Sometimes you're blessed to be a blessing, and if that's helped people to make it through another week, then I will tell you that they've helped me as much, because by Friday nights I'm done, and it's really inspired me to just get up and go hard the next day. But thank you for asking. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Thank you.
My question for you this morning goes back to the hotel-motel tax.
Yes.
You had said how Savannah's right now is lower than some other cities across Georgia. Why is that?
Well, it's just because we didn't pursue it, or we couldn't agree. we are the only hub city that's in the lower category. And so when you have cities like Vidalia collecting 8%, Tybee Island is 8%, and Savannah is at 6%. I mean, that's missed opportunity, that's missed revenue for us. And so, we're looking at ways to do better, ways to recoup money. Local businesses are not paying it. Local residents are not paying it. People who are visiting here, and for them, 2 cents extra on a dollar doesn't mean anything to them. And so this helps us to achieve some of the things that are important here in our community. So, for whatever reason, throughout the years, and Joe Sherhouse is here, has been working on this for a while, for some reason we just couldn't get it together. It's one or the other than one. And now we're all in sync. The universe is aligned. We've agreed. Nobody got everything they wanted, but hence is the spirit of cooperation. But I think we've all gotten something we can live with. And that's why it's so important to me that our local delegation, understands that it's taken a long time for us to get here. This is not money that we're going to get from the state, and this allows us to be able to address some of our capital needs. Certainly, the Kessler property on the west end, as beautiful as it is, has shown us how much work we have to do on this end of the riverfront. How can we improve that? How can we improve the visitor experience? The Tide to Town Trail, again, touches every community in this city. It deals with our health. It deals with accessibility. It deals with poverty reduction because it helps people to navigate our city. The Waterworks project over in West Savannah, again, multi-million-dollar development, but this money is going into a neighborhood coming from tourism. So we've been able now to directly connect tourism with things that people see in the neighborhoods. For years, people say, well, it's tourism, but it's just jobs that people I know have. Here, we're able to say that tourism paid for this directly. And so, again, I'm really pleased of the work, the hard work and hours of work that Team Savannah has put in. I went to Atlanta last month to meet with the delegation, because this is important to us. And so I'm hoping that we get unanimous support. The city council was overwhelmingly in favor of this. And so when we're overwhelmingly in favor of something, take it, run with it. Let's go. Let's go. Go with it.
And just to clarify, so what are the next steps in this? Is the delegation deciding on this today?
For I understand, it's supposed to be dropped as local legislation today. Local legislation, it's not affected by crossover day. Essentially, it requires both senators and a majority of the delegation to agree. And if they agree, it goes to the governor's office, and the governor hopefully will sign it. And that's it. Now, once it's done, there's some other steps. The city council would have to actually do another resolution to actually determine what the rate actually is. And I think we've all agreed, and particularly working with Chairman Ron Stevens, we don't want to start collecting this immediately. We want businesses to have a chance to recover, so we wouldn't collect it at least until January 2022. And if the conditions locally are not better, we might even push it back further than that. Again, we want to do what we can in working with our local community, economically.
My other question for you surrounds this past weekend. After seeing these maskless crowds, lots of people downtown Savannah, do you regret not closing down the bars and restaurants?
So that was the cough of caution from my deputy assistant. I feel like I'm in the principal's office. No, well, do I regret not closing the clubs? No. I mean, I think that the issue is, and again, some of it is stuff we can't control. The governor's order says that we cannot regulate private businesses. Locally, we have worked with local businesses to say that The only way you get to stay open is if you abide by these rules. Again, at the end of the day, some of it does come down to personal responsibility, and we're just hoping that people remain safe from that. Our economy needed a shot in the arm, but we also needed people to be safe. And so it was a very delicate, tightrope walking act. But no, at this point, I don't regret it. However, Team Savannah will tell you that there is a curfew order that is signed, waiting for me to date it, that I will implement without a moment's hesitation if things get out of hand. So, we reserve judgment at this point. Thank you.
Good morning. Along that same line, why, obviously you handed out 18,000 masks, so why were there no citations? Why, we keep talking about being serious against this, but no citations at this point?
Yeah, because when you ask somebody to put on a mask and they put it on, why would I write you a citation? The whole issue about this was not about being punitive. It was about compliance. So if you walk up and you don't have a mask on, I say, ma'am, put your mask on, you put it on, shall I write you a ticket? How would you feel about that? And so, the 18,000 were really 18,000 opportunities in which we encountered people, and they did what we asked them to do. And again, I was out there, and I asked people, and they didn't know I was the mayor. I was just out there. And I say, ma'am, we have a mask mandate, or sir, we have a mask mandate, or I'll do this. And people say, oh, or I don't have a mask. And the fact of the matter is that we don't necessarily want Savannah to be the place where someone got a $500 ticket. Chief could probably speak a little bit more to that. Now, the fact is, if they absolutely refuse to, they're going to get a ticket. But I will tell you, for the hours I spent out there, no one, not one person, refused to put on a mask. And so, again, I think for us, this is the ultimate in community policing. We want compliance. We'd rather not have the money. We just rather everybody have the mask on. So, there's people who are saying, we want you to write citations, we want you to write citations. That's not where we are. Our goal here is let's get people compliant. We want them to enjoy their experience here. And if they're wearing masks, as far as I'm concerned, we're good. And so we have more masks. And stay tuned. Somebody, we'll write some, I'm sure we'll write some eventually. As tomorrow comes and people get a little rowdier, stay tuned.
Switching gears, along the rent partnership, is that specifically for the mediation, or is it also helping pay with bills? Can you walk through that partnership just a little bit more?
The partnership with who?
The rent mediation.
The rent mediation is a partnership. Well, keep in mind, these are two different programs. So we're partnering with the Mediation Center because the moratorium is expiring the end of this month. Well, once it expires, then landlords are going to be taking their tenants to court. We're saying, let's do an alternative process to prevent people from going to court. So if we can sit down at a table, we can work out an agreement that prevents that landlord from taking that tenant to court, then that's better for everybody. Now, on the other end of it, the city, as you know, well, certainly Sean is aware, we provided funds from the very beginning last year, $3.3 million would help people with rent, with utility assistance. Now the county is using their funds for the same purpose, which is good for all of us. On the other end of it is that we recognize there has not been the same help for landlords. Although someone could say there's a rent moratorium, eviction moratorium, in the end, that mortgage is still due. And so we expect there will be a flood of eviction actions coming soon. We know that the court moratorium has been lifted, and so those trials will start opening soon. So we expect a lot of court activities. We're just trying to do what we can to help people. We know when someone's evicted, it's a deeply embarrassing, deeply emotional experience, and it's on their record, which might prevent them from getting a place to stay later on. And it contributes to poverty. So we can get in the beginning, if we could talk it out, if we could work it out, everything is better. Thank you. Hey, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Good. Here it comes.
Only thing for me, really, I was just curious about tomorrow, and this might be more of a question for Chief in terms of enforcement, road closures, things like that, anything that we might expect to see even without the official events that we typically see roads closing for?
Well, our expectation is that all hands are on deck. We're continuing to monitor the day. We're not really sure what to expect. We know that people are coming, not the crowds that we're used to, but we'll still have to have significant resources on the street. We'll still have to have significant resources watching. And so as the situation dictates, we might have to close streets, might have to close areas. It just depends. And again, we really don't have a template for how to manage a St. Patrick's Day non-festival during the pandemic. So again, you know, I'll leave it to the city manager, the chief mentor, Chief Menard. Both of them, I want to thank them and their teams for their work over the last weekend. You know, we'll just manage it as we go forward. And if we have to make any changes, any support that we need to provide, then we'll provide that. You know, obviously we're a little, you know, there are festivals going on in spite of our desire not to have festivals, and so we'll manage those on the city side as best as we can. We were trying to avoid big groups of people from congregating anywhere. We prefer crowds that are moving and, you know, not really staying in one place. Hence, you know, the parade committee and the city saying, you know, we weren't having a festival, but we've been alerted then to festivals that are not, and please understand, these are not city condoned, these are not city approved, and certainly no one has been in communication with us regarding those. So, you know, they'll happen. They can legally happen, and so we'll manage the public response as best we can. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
One last thing,
Sure.
going off of that, is it frustrating to you, after all the steps the city has taken to try and keep people safe around this holiday that is very big for Savannah, to see these private festivals still happening?
It is what it is. You know, yeah, we recognize people are struggling to make money. For us, we put people above profits, and so, you know, those actions require reaction, and so our responsibility is the public space, and so you know, you've seen probably some of our actions to protect the public space, and as best we can, and so, you know, we just roll with it. You know, we just do the best we can. So it is what it is. That's all I'll say about that. Yes.
A little less local, but I know earlier in the year you partnered with Governor Cuomo for PPE. Not saying you know him well, but you had a relationship with him momentarily, and now people are calling for him to resign. Any comment on that?
No. No. I mean, as a human resources professional, I'll tell you that sexual harassment is very serious, and it needs to be thoroughly investigated. And so whatever the investigation, independent investigation yields is between those folks and the people of New York. You know, other than that, we were grateful for what they did for us, but that does not excuse any actions that are illegal or unethical or unmoral. So, in the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that. Anything else? All right. Well, Aaron, go bra, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you all. May God bless you, and may God keep us safe tomorrow. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen him on TV, you've seen him on FGTV, ladies and gentlemen. Chief Roy Mentor, give him a round of applause. Come on. Come on, get up to the chief. Get up to the chief.
I'm the only one who didn't talk to him. Next to the bus outside.
Give the chief. Give the chief. Come on, chief. Yeah, chief. With his green badge on. Come on, chief. Yeah. Give it up for the chief. All right. All right.
I'm only going to read off the mayor's notes that he left up here.
Look, the chief got a big book he's ready for you. Go this way.
All right, good morning, folks.
All right, go Chief. Okay, Chief. So the mayor kind of deferred a lot of questions about enforcement over the weekend to you. What was your experience? What kind of obstacles were you facing? And let's just start there.
Well, let me start with Friday night. Friday was not a really busy night. It was kind of steady for us, especially around River Street area. A little more busy around City Market area. Saturday, we saw the crowd increase significantly. But fortunately, we did a great job of staffing up and being well prepared for both nights. And we're going to do the same thing for this coming weekend.
A lot of people we spoke with, Chief, said that they noticed the increased police presence in the city. They felt safer because of that increased police presence. Are you able to give us just a roundabout? I mean, did you double your staff? Do you know as far as that goes compared to other weekends?
Well, I can say we had an increased presence. Usually, as we do every year for around the same time of year, we do things like make sure we significantly reduce the number of officers that are allowed to be off. Make sure that we monitor our staffing, not just for the downtown area, but certainly around the entire city.
Can you expand on some of the citations Mayor mentioned were given to some businesses?
I'd have to get the specific information from ABC. I don't have the specific information for you now.
I have a... No, go on. Mine's not.
You good, Sean? Okay.
Wait, one more question while you're up there.
Okay.
About a month ago, you said you might have information in a month on the new gun violence director. Any update on him, what he's found?
Sure. He's working on putting together a preliminary report that he's forwarding to me that we're going to review. We're going to meet and discuss that report this week. So we should hopefully have something available to push out to the media, the public, our elected officials, and then probably work on putting together a round of press conferences. And nobody asked about DUI arrest or traffic-related matter? Oh, see, here we go now. Wow. We're talking about reporters here. I can tell you Friday night, our traffic enforcement, our traffic investigations unit issued 63 citations, 5 DUI arrests. Saturday night, they issued 64 citations and 4 DUI arrests. So it was a busy night for our traffic enforcement folks. We're fortunate enough to also have Georgia State Patrol here to also assist us with traffic enforcement efforts. I do not have their numbers, but I know it was a pretty busy night for our traffic enforcement folks.
And then what's enforcement look like tomorrow?
Probably the same thing. We'll be staffed up again tomorrow and also going into Friday and Saturday. We'll have the same 3 objectives that we had for this previous weekend, and that's the safety for our residents and our visitors, and that's for the entire city, not just for the downtown area. Also, mask and social distance enforcement, and then the last thing, having an enhanced presence throughout the entire city.
Thank you.
Okay?